My name's Time Richards, and this for my CLS project. I will be doing a presentation over authority versus servanthood. Um, so just kind of going into the main objective of this, I really wanted to tackle the question like how can Christian leaders practice authority while still embodying servanthood? I think this is a very, very like keen and important question for this today's society because I feel like or I know that each another can like outweigh the other. If you're too focused on authority, you can become very, very like you can almost build yourself up instead of glorifying Christ. And then just practicing servanthood all the time, you can neglect authority. Um, I think the best like blend of it. I think the best version of each of these is honestly like together how you can use these two to strengthen up your body and glorify Christ. Um, like just like building up the church in that way. Um, so I'll mainly just be using like a lot of my scripture like examples will be from scripture because I do believe that scripture is infallible, it's sufficient, it's inherent, and I do believe that it's something that we should all submit to. I feel like that is the ultimate authority in our lives. And or like yeah, ultimate authority that we can run to whenever we have questions. Um yeah, so I'll be reading Romans chapter 13, verses 1. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Let's just break this down. So, let every person be subjected to the governing authorities. He's not saying some, he's saying every single person, includes me, you, Bill, and Jane. I mean, anybody in the world be subject to the governing authority. So we do need to submit to the authorities on earth, but it says, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. So he's really trying to, Paul, in this like letter to Romans, in Romans, is really trying to like say that like it's from God. All authority is from God and for God. And it's been instituted, ordained by God. So I think that's very, very important in understanding that. And then just kind of looking at servanthood in Scripture, um, I'll read verses, Mark chapter 10, verse 45. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Um, I think this is just a really, really great representation of seeing where our servanthood comes from. It comes from Christ. Um, and looking at Mark's like gospel, like for the Son came not to be served, even though he is fully God, fully man. He came willingly, endured the cross for us, so that we may have life. I think that's just, it's so beautiful just seeing like how much he served us even though we weren't worthy to be served. And I think that also is a really, really good point. Like we we can serve those who we might disagree with because or those or the evil. I mean, I think that's like a big just really big in showing like Christ's love to others. It's showing now, yeah, you might not disagree with me, but I'm gonna serve you to show the love of Christ. I think that's a great way of like living out our faith in the gospel, and to give his life as a ransom for many. I mean, that's the gospel. He gave his life for as a ransom for many. That's many is us, those who have placed their trust in Jesus. Yeah, and then just kind of like go to my next point, like recognizing authority as delegated, not possessed. All authority comes from God. Therefore, like Christian leaders, do not own their authority; they steward it. I think it's so important when we look at that. Like such as like pastors, like Christian leaders, when I think the best Christian like pastors and leaders, man, they steward their authority well. And again, like I said, I think that the best Christian leaders get their authority from Scripture, where they're running to Scripture for the answers, for wisdom, not reliant on human wisdom at all, because inherently we are evil. There's no good wisdom in us, but only from God, where we can receive wisdom. And leaders act under God's rule, not their own preferences. I think that's so important that we take the human bias away from us. That external sources, which in today's age, it's okay to like look at like good leaders that aren't Christian, but ultimately our authority and our should be from Scripture, and like they remain accountable to Scripture and to the church. Yeah, I think the church should really keep like Christian leaders like accountable. That's why it's like, well, we have elders to keep the body healthy and the pastors accountable. Authority is not used for building up others. Authority is used for building up others, not elevating self. Yeah, ultimately, authority is something that is not self-gaining. It should never be a place where we are elevating ourselves up to a standard to where we think we should be. It should ultimately be for the thought of others and elevating them up more than ourselves. Because, so yeah, they just kind of like following Christ's model, like authority through sacrifice. I think this is the greatest way we show servanthood and like authority. Like, so like authority should cost you something. If you think you're gonna be in position of power and not have people dislike you, have disagreements, or be struggle, you're gonna be wrong. Decisions should aim at others' spiritual growth. So when we're looking at like decisions within the church and Christian leadership, it should be ultimately like building up the local body of the church or building up other believers. If that's not your main goal, if your main goal is to, like again, the next slide, elevate yourself, you are doing it for all the wrong reasons. Leadership should like reflect like self-giving, should reflect self-giving love, not self-protection. I think leaders can be sometimes scared to say stuff because others might think, but it shouldn't be used as like protection against someone else. They should speak the gospel truth and like scriptural truth. And there's leading with like conviction, not dominion. Teach truth clearly in Titus 2:15. So I have my Bible right here, and I'll be reading Titus 2:15. Declare these things, exhort and rebuke with all authority. Let no one disregard you. Yeah, I think it's also like really like good to like, so in like here it's kind of like teaching about like sound doctrine. Like I do think that whenever we see doctrine that's not aligned with Scripture, we should rebuke it with like authority, and like don't like let anybody discourage you. Like point to Scripture what could be lacking in that, and then like kind of like shepherd faithfully. So I'll be going to First Peter. I also have that in my Bible. It's 5:2-3. Shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not dominion those over you in charge, but examples to the flock. Again, this should not be for self-gain or self-benefit. It should be ultimately for building up the church and shepherding the flock to raise up other leaders that want to pursue Christ. Yeah, so like kind of like in my concluding remarks, like Christian leaders like practice authority while embodying servanthood by exercising God-given authority in a Christ-like way, humbly, sacrificially, and for the good, ultimate good of others. Yeah, just like kind of in conclusion, just like authority is from God, it's not from us. And even servanthood, we should model Christ because of the ways, not that what we can't bring anything to the table, but because of what he did ultimately. And this concludes my my presentation over authority versus servanthood. Thank you.